Hi, it's September 10th. It's day to day with St. Joseph. Hey there, it's Father Barry. Do you think that St. Joseph had a sense of humor, a sense of joy? Do you think Mary and the Holy Family and Jesus had a sense of humor? You know, that they were lighthearted? Here's a question for today, and we're going to take a look at it. So, uh, here's some jokes. How did pre-President Barack propose to his wife? He gave a ring and he sang, "All by myself, don't wanna be all by myself anymore." Hey, Michelle accepted, so it worked, man. I went to Minneapolis, St. Paul to a McDonald's and I ordered a Coke, a small Coke, and they gave me 2 ounces of Coke. Okay? And I said, "What's going on?" And they said, "Welcome to the land of mini soda." Mini soda. 2 ounce Coke. All right. I went to a counselor for career advice. And they said, well, what kind of advice you need? What have you done before? I said, I was a lifeguard in a car wash. They said, oh, I was an ice salesman in northern Alaska. They said, that doesn't sound so good. What else have you done? I said, I was a car repairman in Venice, Italy. And they said, not good. So the counselor handed me a piggy bank and it filled with some used coins. And he said, all right, what you need to do is start collecting some common sense and you'll be all right because you don't have much of your own right now. Okay. Why do seagulls fly over the beach by the sea and not over the bay? Because if they flew over the bay all the time, they'd become bagels. They'd be bagels instead of seagulls. A skunk came into the court. The people got upset, running for the doors, but the judge banged his gavel and he said, "Order in the court." Order in the court. Yeah. I was going to tell you this joke about a roof, but it's likely to be over your head. Yes, on this Friday the 10th, we just think about Joseph and did he have a sense of humor? You know, the first thing I think of is I admire people who say the following: God made me, so he must have had a sense of humor. Or God called me into ministry or into the Christian fold. He must have had a sense of humor. I love that kind of humility, that self-deprecation, because that does God know what he's getting into, picking me? And I think Joseph, that would have been sort of like, really, God picked me, huh? A carpenter guy from Bethlehem. Really, he picked me. Wow. I think there was a modesty in Joseph, and I think he would have smiled and said, well then. And as he is the father to the Messiah, it's like, wow, how am I going to get this right? I mean, Joseph is like, so I'm actually to help you save the world. Me? What can I do? You've come to be in my house. You're going to save the world. Joseph doesn't quite know how he's going to do it, but he's willing to go on the journey. And, as Joseph lives, he will meet Jesus as a man-to-man eventually. And they'll begin to talk about some things man-to-man. And Jesus is like, all around here they're fishing for fish. But one day I'm going to teach men how to fish for people, fish for souls. And later Jesus would say that when he's calling some of the famous apostles, the Galilean fishermen. I think Jesus would have gone to the temple and talked to Joseph as they looked up on the great wonder of the world temple, the rebuilt temple of the Jews. And Joseph lived with the two most perfect people in history, Jesus and Mary. You can imagine Joseph saying, It's kind of difficult when you're living with two perfect people. You're always kind of a little bit wondering, am I offending them at all, or am I living up to the call at all? But Joseph was actually placed as head of the household, and Jesus has some interesting things to say of praise of the head of the household and of what Joseph did for him. Joseph, like Jesus and Mary, as you look at the Holy Family, you have to remember there's a fully human situation going on there. Jesus is fully human and divine. And I think they live life quite squarely, quite really, quite straight on. And sometimes I think it had to make them grin or laugh. The comedic situation they were in one time that later would come out of his mouth in ministry. In 3 days, his temple can get rebuilt. Jesus sees himself as a new temple. How much did he understand that early in life? We don't know, but even at 12, and Joseph is alive then to see it, Jesus is speaking about his father's temple and really, in a sense, his own temple. And he's speaking quite comfortably there. And Joseph has got to say, who is this boy I've been raising? And there has to be some humor only because of how preposterous it is, of how to live, a life, a vocation of raising, the Son of God. So I think that there's humor in the story with Joseph. There's a song that Joseph, I guess his name was Surson up in Pennsylvania, wrote a song, "What a Friend We Have in Jesus." And I think in the end, Joseph is probably saying, what a child I have in Jesus. What a friend I've made now as he's grown. And what a lesson I'm learning in Jesus. What revelation. So as Joseph watches Jesus grow up, I think that there had to be a need for him to just take things a little lightly, because there's no way that he could figure it all out. What Jesus was doing, what God's plan was in Jesus. So Joseph I think he had to have some kind of a sense of lightness about him and just a smile about things. Otherwise, he would just get worried over everything that was going on with his son. But instead, I think, like Mary, who prays her Magnificat, my soul rejoices in God my Savior. And I think Joseph would just say, I'm just going to rejoice that he's in our lives. I'm not going to try to control everything that's going on here. I'm just gonna love him, and we'll see where things go from here. Well, look, I'm looking on the clock there, and I think it's time to stop for today on this Friday, and I'll continue this theme tomorrow and maybe into next week. But sometimes when we have a vocation given to us and it seems to be pretty big, you just have to take it on with a kind of a smile and say, this is bigger than really I can do. So only the grace of God can pull this off in me. And in that smile, we trust God. We think, well, of course, God has to do the work in us or it's not going to happen. And that kind of thing is a sense of humor. At least I think it is. When I think of comedians out there that are Catholic, I think of Jim Gaffigan. Have you heard of him? And he tells a lot of jokes referring back to his faith, and he tries to keep it really earthy. Jim Gaffigan, again, the comedian in New York, is on TV a lot. There's a lot of stand-up comedy, and he's talks about his Catholic faith when he's doing his act. And he tries to let people know, I'm not trying to be irreverent or anything. I'm just like being earthy about Jesus, just comments. And like one of them was, He says people think that they really know Jesus, and like when they look at the Last Supper, by Da Vinci, they think, well, it's a beautiful picture of Jesus. And he goes, people, I don't think that's the exact. I think if Jesus came and looked, he'd say, who's that? That's not me. That's Da Vinci's cousin Ernie. Da Vinci didn't know what I looked like, so he just picked his cousin Ernie. And that's cousin Ernie sitting there at the table. It's not me. But everybody that has that picture have often looked at it as, as if it's an authentic Last Supper picture, but it's Da Vinci's imagining of it. And none of the guys look Jewish at the table. And that's what's funny, and that's what we're talking about in these programs this week. Something that brings us a little smile.